Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode on the African Square. On today's episode, we will be reading about Inyanga, daughter of the Nile, the maiden who changed the story of her village forever. So, sit tight, relax, and enjoy yourself. Some time ago, as the legends told, life was beautiful in Ukono, a small island surrounded by the Nile River. The people enjoyed peace and quiet, living solely on the proceeds from the Nile River. Most of the men were fishermen, while their wives ran restaurants and prepared mouth-watering delicacies. In and out of season, tourists visited their white sandy beaches and swam in their rivers. The waters were so blue that you could see the bottom of the riverbed. There was a lot to eat and drink, including their popular sun-dried fish crumbs, roasted periwinkles, and shrimp sauce. Their purpose-built red mud inns housed the tourists, keeping them cool all day long. Unknown to the community, Inyanga, one of the twin daughters of the village herbalist, who was banished from associating with the community for giving birth to twins, would wake up every morning and sing to the waves in her solitude. She would sing songs of adulation, gazing on the blue rivers from a patch of rock overlooking it. She would tell of the beauty of the Nile. She would thank the waters, wind, earth, and fire for sparing them and being so kind to her people. Her song was so soothing that the people of Ukono and all their visitors would always speak of sleeping better in the early hours of the morning when she sang. They would tell of mild whispers, the morning breeze, and the humid air that graced their skin at those times. But no one knew about Inyanga's therapeutic devotion to the Nile. One day, the foremost king and aged ruler of Ukono community took ill and died. His death signaled the beginning of a customary 7 days mourning within which the village seer and elders were meant to produce a virgin to be buried alive with him. It was customary in Ukono tradition that a 25-year-old virgin should escort every king that dies to the great beyond and assist him with every chore. The elders searched and searched and searched. They searched the length and breadth of Ukono for a 25-year-old virgin who would be buried alongside the king, but they found none. The elders and the entire community were shocked that all the girls of qualifying age were no longer chaste nor suitable for the age-long sacrifice. 6 days passed, and the elders were yet to find a virgin. The once blue skies that hovered around Ukono community began to darken and the sun went red. The people began to panic. Tourists began to leave the community in droves, escaping with their female brides and courtesans who were from Ukono, for fear of losing them to the coming plague. Ukono community became a shadow of itself within days. And so, the village seer and elders gathered and devised a plan. They agreed to go into the forbidden forests allocated to their banished king's men in search of a virgin to fulfill the age-long tradition. On the seventh day of mourning, before the break of dawn, the elders set out with some youth to the forbidden forest. As they approached the forest entrance, they stopped and poured out libations to guard themselves against every curse and contamination lurking in the forbidden forests. They continued, and after a little distance into the forest, they heard crackling sounds and turned to behold Inyanga, who was returning from her daily devotion to the Nile. "Aha! The gods have smiled on us," alluded the village seer, breathing heavily from the long walk. Inyanga saw them and stopped abruptly, and without a word, she turned and took to her heels. She knew it was a bad omen for anyone to accost the village seer at the break of dawn. She ran as fast as she could, screaming. The village youth chased after her, but she outpaced them until she reached her father's house and into his waiting arms. Her legs shook vigorously from fear. From a distance, her mother and twin sister watched them. Just like Inyanga, they were adjudged impure and not to be seen close to the village seer and elders. Usong, the village seer, called out to Inyanga's father, looking him straight in the eyes with derision. "You don't have to struggle with us. The king is dead, and you know what will befall us if we don't fulfill custom. Why have you come for my daughter, a twin? Or have you forgotten that she was banished together with her twin and the whole family?" "You don't have a right to query our decision," an elder interrupted. "You should count yourself lucky to have a member of your banished lineage fulfill a symbolic custom. Only because our freeborn daughters chose to surrender their pride and virginity to the allure of pale-skinned tourists." "Bring her along," the village seer instructed. "We don't have time to waste." Inyanga's father loosened his grip and closed his eyes in grief. Tradition forbade him to contest the decision of Ukono elders while in expulsion. Inyanga struggled and cried, tightly holding on to her father, who had resorted to fate. The youth pulled and pulled till her hands grew weak before she was dragged away. They tied her mouth, hands, and feet, and allowed one of the burly youths heave her on his shoulders as they made their way back to the village. Inyanga's father remained outside all through the following day, watching the dark skies. Her mother and sister locked themselves inside the house, crying bitterly. No Ukono woman is meant to be seen outside on the day of the king's burial. Time passed, and suddenly, when the dark skies began to give way and the sun became yellow, Iyanga's father burst out in tears. He cried bitterly, knowing that his daughter had been buried alive to slave for the king in the great beyond. The supposed honor of having a virgin daughter buried alive with the king was too much for him to bear. That day, the skies hovering over Ukono became clear again as the king was interred and a new king enthroned. The people of Ukono heaved a sigh of relief. They were glad to have found a virgin and given their king a befitting burial, averting the plagues which could have befallen them. And all through the night, Ukono was peaceful, and the people had a quiet night. As dawn came, and the Nile swelled, opening the ears of its waves to listen to Inyanga's melodious songs of adulation, she was nowhere to be found. The Nile waited, yet she was not found. Then it began to rage, shutting its humid breeze and accordant whispers, causing heat. The people of Ukono woke up to a restless morning with mountain heat. It was the first time they would experience such heat, despite being surrounded by water. "They have killed your songstress," Iyanga's twin sister screamed. Standing on the patch of rock Inyanga would normally sit and sing. "The same people that said we were impure have killed Inyanga. They buried her alive to serve the king in the great beyond." The Nile raged even more, throwing its waves over land and stirring its core. "Is this all you can do?" Inyanga's twin sister cried out in tears, and immediately her tears dropped and touched the ground. A massive fire like lightning struck through the skies of Ukono, starting out a heavy downpour as the winds rose and joined the Nile in its revolt. The winds swelled and swelled and swelled, boiling the waters from the seabed and emptying it overland, uprooting every tree and house on its path. It was a spontaneous hurricane, the very first hurricane witnessed by people of Ukono since they began to settle on the island. The end was a disaster, causing huge devastation to life and properties of the Ukono people. The village seer and some elders, spared from the wreckage, gathered and pondered over what had befallen them. Perhaps our ancestors were unhappy with us for interring the king with a banished virgin, they thought. After that vengeful hurricane, Ukono never remained the same again. And like the story goes, the once beautiful island of Ukono and its people lived unhappily ever after, grappling with successive natural disasters of various magnitudes since the Nile's revolt. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode. Please subscribe to our channel so you stay notified when our next story is available. Thank you for joining us and catch you soon.